central Iran, 38 kilometers west of Arak, 2:10 in the morning, 112 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were moving toward the IRGC Titan fuel vault. Inside the outer belts, 468 Iranian forces were defending 24 shielded fuel canisters, 8 pump halls, and 1 buried transfer control room. The Rangers had 90 minutes to break the chain that fed Iran's most protected nuclear logistics hub. The Titan fuel vault sat under reinforced concrete and packed earth beside a military fuel rail spur. It stored high-grade reactor support fuel, coolant drums, guidance parts, and convoy schedules for shipments moving between secure sites near Arak, Natanz, and Isfahan. Iranian forces believed no raid force could reach it fast enough, breach it deep enough, and leave before armored reinforcements sealed every road. The site was protected by 3 fence lines, 14 watchtowers, 6 bunkers, 2 Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns, 18 DSHK heavy machine gun positions, buried sensors, and blast doors set behind narrow service tunnels. Iranian forces also kept 2 reserve platoons near the central yard and 1 quick reaction convoy 11 minutes away. The U.S. Army plan was simple and hard. Alpha element would cut the north towers and open the first breach. Bravo element would hit the west motor pool and pin the outer guards. Charlie element would breach the underground access points and seize the transfer control room. Delta element would hold the south road, kill power, and block reinforcements with heavy weapons. At 2:18, the assault began. 2 shaped charges hit the north fence. A second pair tore open the west service gate. Bravo element rushed through dust and sparks with M4A1 SOP mod, 2 carbines, and 1 MK48 mod 0. Alpha element dropped 6 tower guards in 14 seconds. Charlie element cut into a drainage trench and reached the first buried hatch before the main siren even started. Delta element set 2 M24OB machine guns on the south road and fired on the first guard trucks trying to turn inside the gate. Iranian forces reacted in pieces, not as one force. Men in the outer barracks ran without helmets. A PKM team opened up from Bunker 3 and pinned Bravo for 18 seconds. A Ranger with a Carl Gustav M3 fired 1 round through the firing slot. The bunker went silent. Alpha crossed the inner lane and placed det cord on the second fence. The blast opened a 5-meter gap. 4 Rangers went through first and cleared 2 prefabricated guard rooms with MK18 CQBR rifles. And then at 2:20, the first full minute of shock ended. Iranian forces in the motor pool tried to turn 3 pickup trucks into gun platforms. Bravo hit them first. M249 SAW fire shattered windshields. 2 AT-4 rockets tore through the lead truck and a fuel bowser parked behind it. Flames rose 9 meters and lit the whole west yard. That fire helped the U.S. Army Rangers as much as it hurt them. Every guard now looked toward the motor pool while Charlie slipped lower into the vault approach. Charlie reached a sealed hatch covered by a steel plate and sandbags. A breacher placed C4 on the hinge edge and blew it upward. The opening was narrow. The first 8 Rangers dropped in one by one. A tunnel team of Iranian forces waited at the bend with AK-74 rifles and 1 RPG-7. The first burst hit the wall. Charlie answered with 3 flashbangs, then short fire from 6 MK18 CQBR rifles. The tunnel was clear in 22 seconds. The Rangers moved deeper, dragging 1 wounded man aside and marking the turn with infrared chem lights. At 2:22, Alpha element hit the central alarm node. The room sat behind steel shutters beside Tower 9. The door was locked. A shaped charge broke the lock. 2 Rangers went in low, 2 went high. Inside were 7 Iranian signalmen and 1 field radio rack tied to the whole north sector. Alpha smashed the backup panels with thermite and cut 3 hard lines with bolt cutters. Half the facility lost camera feeds. The other half now saw only broken images and smoke. That was when the Iranian commander inside the yard understood this was not a probe. It was a full seizure attempt. He pulled 64 men from the east storage sheds and sent them toward the underground ramps. He also ordered the South Reserve platoon to retake the power station. Delta was already there. 2 Rangers had placed charges on the transformer wall. The blast killed the floodlights, killed the pump motors, and killed the electric locks tied to 4 inner doors. When the reserve platoon came in across open gravel, Delta met it with M24 OB bursts and 40mm grenades from a MK19 grenade launcher mounted on a captured utility frame. At 2:24, 6 minutes into the operation, Charlie reached the first blast door. It was thicker than expected and held on 3 locking bars. A breacher set a linear charge across the center seam. The charge snapped the bars and pushed the door open 40 centimeters. That was enough. 2 Rangers shoved a camera pole through the gap on the other side. 11 Iranian forces were kneeling behind metal drums with AK-74 rifles aimed at chest height. Charlie tossed 2 grenades over the drums, waited 2 seconds, then entered fast. 9 defenders were down at once. 2 ran into the pump corridor. A Ranger with an M4A1 SOP Ma D2 cut them down before they reached the next corner. Bravo was still moving yard to yard. A DSHK on the roof of the maintenance block pinned the western lane and stopped the push toward Bunker 5. Bravo did not pause. 1 team fixed the gun with M249 SAW fire. Another team flanked through a tire bay, climbed an exterior ladder, and crossed the roof under smoke from the burning trucks. The DSHK team heard them too late. Bravo killed the gun crew, turned the weapon east, and used it against 2 squads of Iranian forces trying to cross between fuel sheds. At 2:26, Iranian forces launched their hardest counterattack so far. 32 men from the central yard and 19 from Bunker Line 2 charged north to split Alpha from Bravo. They came with PKM guns, 3 RPG-7 launchers, and box after box of AK-74 magazines. Alpha fell back 14 meters behind a concrete barrier and let the first wave close. Then 1 MK48 Mod 0 and 2 M4A1 SOP Mod 2 rifles cut the front rank down. Bravo added crossfire from the roof. An RPG struck the barrier and wounded 2 Rangers with fragments. A medic packed both wounds while the line held. Then Alpha pushed again. Grenades cleared the ditch. 3 Rangers vaulted the barrier, hit the nearest PKM team at arm's length, and broke the whole attack into scattered pockets. At 2:28, 10 minutes into the assault, the battle split into 2 wars. Above ground, U.S. Army Rangers were carving lanes through the yard. Below ground, Charlie was racing the clock to reach the canister vault. The tunnel map taken from the alarm room showed 3 routes. Only one went to the transfer control room. Iranian forces knew that too. They stacked 15 men behind a service cart jammed across Corridor 4. Charlie did not waste time. A Carl Gustav M3 round smashed the cart, the wall behind it, and the men packed around it. Dust filled the corridor. The Rangers went through before it settled. Inside the control room approach, the air was thick with smoke and concrete grit. 2 steel doors faced each other across a narrow passage. Both opened at once. Iranian forces poured fire from both sides. Charlie dropped flat. 2 Rangers fired under the smoke with M4A1 SOP Modi 2 rifles. Another pushed a grenade through the left doorway. The blast stopped one side. A breacher hit the right frame with C4. The door tore away. Charlie stormed in and killed 12 defenders around the switch racks and wallboards. At 2:30, Delta saw headlights on the South Road. The quick reaction convoy had arrived 3 minutes earlier than expected. It came with 6 armored trucks, 2 pickup mounts, and 54 Iranian forces. Delta waited until the convoy hit the choke point between a drainage culvert and a repair berm. Then a Javelin missile struck the lead truck, and AT-4 hit the rear vehicle. The convoy was trapped. M24 OB fire hammered the center trucks. The surviving Iranian forces tried to deploy into the ditch, but Bravos captured DSK, cut through them from the flank. The road was blocked by burning metal within 70 seconds. At 2:32, 14 minutes into the operation, Charlie seized the transfer control room. The room held fuel routing boards, coded shipment ledgers, and 12 hardened terminals linked to underground valves. 2 Rangers pulled security at the north door. 4 began downloading files to rugged drives. Another team forced the chief valve cabinet with thermite. When the steel softened, they cranked the backup manual release and shut flow to all 8 pump halls. The Titan fuel vault was now blind, dark, and cut off from its own transfer network. Iranian forces still had numbers. They used them. 41 men from the East Storage Belt regrouped and drove toward Bunker 5 in 4 utility vehicles. Their goal was to retake the center and reopen the tunnel mouths. Alpha saw the move first. A Ranger with an MK11 Mod 0 sniper rifle dropped the lead driver at 220 meters. The first vehicle turned and hit a barrier. Bravo destroyed the second with a burst from the DSHK. The last 2 vehicles spilled men into the open. Alpha and Bravo shredded the group before it reached cover. At 2:34, the Iranian commander made one last organized play. He ordered every remaining guard near the surface to collapse on the main freight elevator that linked the vault level to the loading shed. If he could hold that shaft, Charlie would be trapped below. Delta intercepted the radio traffic from the cut signal room. The warning reached Charlie in 11 seconds. Charlie sent 16 Rangers to the elevator shaft while the data team kept copying files. The shaft door was closing when they arrived. A Ranger jammed it with a pry bar. Another shoved a shaped charge into the track. The blast locked the lift halfway between levels. Iranian forces above tried to fire down the shaft. Charlie answered with grenades and rifle bursts up through the gap until the fire stopped. At 2:36, 18 minutes into the assault, Alpha reached the administration block and found 23 Iranian forces inside, along with backup radios, paper convoy books, and sealed route packets. The front windows were sandbagged. The side door was chained. Alpha blew the chain with C4, rolled in 2 flashbangs, and cleared room after room. 5 defenders surrendered in the records office. The rest fought and died in the halls. Alpha bagged the documents and tossed thermite onto the radio cabinets. Bravo then pushed east to join Delta at the South Road. The move mattered. Another reinforcement group was now racing from a nearby base in 9 trucks. Delta had ammo, but not enough to stop a long fight alone. So Bravo arrived with the MK48 Mod 0, 1 M249 SAW, and extra AT-4 tubes taken from the motor pool guard post. At 2:38, the convoy appeared through smoke and sparks. Delta waited. Bravo fired first. 2 AT-4 rockets hit Truck 2 and Truck 7. The road closed again. Iranian forces bailed out and ran into a kill zone covered by M24 OB fire, M249 SAW bursts, and the captured DSK. At 2:40, 22 minutes into the operation, Charlie reached the inner canister chamber. 24 shielded fuel canisters sat in 4 rows on locked transport cradles. 12 coolant drums stood behind them. 6 Iranian technicians and 18 armed guards made their stand there. The room was tight. Charlie could not blast the canisters. They had to shoot clean. The first Rangers went left and right along the wall. Controlled fire dropped the guards nearest the cradles. And a guard tried to fire an RPG-7 from behind drum row 2. A Ranger shot him before he could shoulder it. Two technicians ran toward a scuttle hatch with ignition packs. Charlie cut them down. The last defenders pulled back behind the far cradles. A flashbang bounced between them. The Rangers closed the distance and finished the fight. At 2:42, Charlie radioed the code for objective seized. The canisters were intact, the ledgers were secure, the transfer room was under control. 2 Rangers placed thermite on 6 valve heads, 4 pump controllers, and the freight elevator motor housing. Another team fixed tracking beacons to 12 canisters marked for later exploitation. Above ground, Alpha and Bravo crushed the last fighting pockets around Bunker 2 and Tower 11. Delta kept the South Road closed with fire and burning wrecks. By 2:46, 28 minutes into the assault, the U.S. Army Rangers controlled the whole inner facility. Small arms fire still cracked from the far sheds, but organized resistance was over. Charlie destroyed 8 pump halls with timed charges linked by DT cord. Alpha blew the remaining signal mast. Bravo wrecked 3 fuel trucks, 2 forklift loaders, and the central maintenance bay with C4. Delta shifted south and mined the approach with captured Iranian munitions and 4 Ranger charges to delay any final rush. At 2:52, the withdrawal began. Charlie came up first, carrying 3 data cases and 2 wounded Rangers. Alpha covered the north breach, Bravo covered the west lane, Delta fired short bursts at distant headlights but did not get fixed in place. Iranian forces from the late reserve reached the outer road and found only blocked lanes, dead vehicles, and destroyed gate points. A final burst of thermite and time charges hit the vault systems at 2:58. The underground network burned itself dead from the inside. The U.S. Army Rangers were off the objective by 3:08 in the morning. 4 Rangers were killed and 11 were wounded. Iranian forces lost 143 killed, 96 wounded, and 81 captured. The Rangers destroyed 8 pump halls, 1 transfer control room, 3 bunkers, 2 gate systems, 9 trucks, 2 pickup mounts, 1 freight elevator, and fuel handling equipment worth $214 million. They seized 24 shielded fuel canisters, 12 coded ledgers, 8 route packets, and 14 digital files tied to nuclear logistics movements. Iranian forces believed the Titan fuel vault could survive any raid long enough for reinforcements to save it. What actually happened was that 112 U.S. Army Rangers broke its defenses, cut its power, took its records, and crippled its mission in 50 minutes. Iranian forces had concrete, depth, numbers, and guns. What they did not have was, 112 U.S. Army Rangers willing to take the vault apart room by room,